Let's get you started on this edition with breaking news coming in, and this is from Karnataka, where the controversy over denial to hijab wearing students in classrooms has triggered a big face-off, but the BJP government there has now come out and underlined that this has nothing to do with any particular religion. It is in fact about uniformity and students wearing uniform. Any attempt to divert attention from that will not be tolerated. The BJP government coming out and saying that it's not just the hijab, but saffron shawls or any other symbols of any other religion will also be barred from classrooms.
Hijab ಧರಿಸುವಂತದ್ದು ಮತ್ತು ಕೇಸರಿ ಶಾಲ್ ಧರಿಸುವಂತದ್ದು ಎರಡು ಕೂಡ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಪ್ರೆಮಿಸಸ್ ಒಳಗೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ನಡೆಯಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ. ಏನಿದ್ರು ಕಾಲೇಜು ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿ ನಿರ್ಧಾರ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಯೂನಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಧರಿಸಿ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಕಡ್ಡಾಯ ಮಾಡಿ ನಿನ್ನೆಯಷ್ಟೇ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಇಲಾಖೆ ಆದೇಶವನ್ನು ಹೊರಡಿಸಿದೆ. ಆ ಆದೇಶವನ್ನು ಪಾಲಿಸುವಂಥದ್ದು ಒಂದೇ. ಬೇರೆ ನಾವು ಏನೇನೋ ವೇಷ ಧರಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತೀವಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಧರ್ಮ ಅದು, ನನ್ನ ಧರ್ಮ ಇದು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಹೇಳಿ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಧರ್ಮವನ್ನು ಮೀರಿ ಭಾರತ ಮಾತೆಯ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದೇ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಭಾವನೆ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಮತ್ತು ಅಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರ ಸಿಗುವಂಥ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ವೇದಿಕೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದು ಶಾಲೆ ಕಾಲೇಜುಗಳು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನನ್ನ ಯೂನಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸಮಾನತೆಯ ಒಂದು ಸಂಕೇತ, ಸಮಾನತೆಯ ಮಾನಸಿಕತೆಯನ್ನು ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಇತ್ತೀಚೆಗೆ ಈ ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಒಲವು ಮತ್ತು ಕಡ್ಡಾಯವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನು ಧರಿಸ್ತೇವೆ, ಧರಿಸಿ ಬರ್ತೇವೆ, ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ದರೆ ನಾವು ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಬಿಡ್ತೇವೆ ಅಥವಾ ನನಗೆ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದನ್ನ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಹೇಳೋ ಹಾಗಾಗಿದೆ. ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಈ ರೀತಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಡೀ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಅನೇಕ ಕಡೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಕಾಣದ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಇದರ ಹಿಂದೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಮಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಅನುಮಾನ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಇಲಾಖೆಗೆ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಿರ್ದೇಶನ ಹೋಗಿದೆ. ಇದರ ಹಿಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಏನು ತಂತ್ರ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಅದು ನೋಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಹೇಳಿ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಕಾಲೇಜುಗಳ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಪೊಲೀಸಿನ ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಕೂಡ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಿರ್ದೇಶನ ಹೋಗಿದೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ನಾನು ವಿನಂತಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ, ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿ ನಿರ್ಧಾರ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಯೂನಿಫಾರ್ಮನ್ನು ಧರಿಸಿ ಬರಬೇಕು. ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಕೇವಲ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕೆಲವೇ ತಿಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಶುರುವಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಕಳೆದ 2 ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಕೋವಿಡ್-19ನಿಂದ ಹಾಳಾಗಿದೆ. ಈ ಸಾರಿ ಕೂಡ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಭವಿಷ್ಯ ಹಾಳಾಗಬಾರ್ದು. ಈ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಯಾರೂ ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ಎತ್ತಿಕಟ್ಟುವಂಥ ಪ್ರಚೋದನೆ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸಕ್ಕೆ ಇಳಿಬಾರದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ.
Senior editor Madhadas Gopalakrishnan joins me on this broadcast from on ground in Bengaluru. Imran also with us. Imran, coming to you first. Now, the state government has been facing severe criticism that they're trying to segregate, they're trying to discriminate on the basis of religion. But the Home Minister himself coming out and saying that it is a uniform, irrespective of religion. Any kind of symbolism that is synonym to a religion will not be allowed in classrooms across Karnataka.
Well, absolutely. In fact, that's the stand of the Karnataka government. They also issued a circular on the 1st of Feb that only uniformity of dress will be there. No kind of any outer gear like shawls or scarf will be allowed inside, whether it's of saffron, green or blue or even black. Nothing will be allowed. Only the prescribed uniform will be there, and it is left to the college disciplinary committee to design the dress, and it could be of any color, the uniform dress. But whatever dress is prescribed by the college authorities, that should be enforced, and that will be implemented despite any of the protests happening by groups from different sides, whether it's from ABP or campus front or even the individual students. Their writ will not be allowed, and that is what likely they are going to submit in the High Court tomorrow. Earlier in the morning we spoke to the Education Minister. They said they are very categorically clear that they will not allow any kind of external gear apart from what is being prescribed by the college authorities. That means that hijab or the scarf, the headgear will go. That is very clear from the government side. Now there are protests have sprung up across Karnataka. We are seeing in Kalburgi,
Right.
Hassan, Udupi, Mangalore, Belgavi, all the places where protests are happening in favor of hijab, against hijab also. And Chikmagalur we saw confrontation between Dalit students who have come in support of those students wearing hijab, and confrontation between ABP students there in the campus. Fortunately, the management had to intervene to defuse the situation. situation, but it is taking a very, very state-level protest now, where people are divided over the issue of whether hijab should be allowed or not. Some defending it as part of faith, and some saying that no, they should be
absolutely. And the politics over that has also been brewing over the last couple of days. Pranesh Kumar Roy also joins me on this broadcast. But before I get you in, Pranesh, Madhav, like we've been discussing, these protests have spilled over. They started from one college in Udupi back in January. It's been over a month. It's spilled on to several other colleges across neighboring districts as well. The state government now finally coming out and drawing the line that this is nothing to do with religion. It's about uniformity. And as students in an educational institution, you have to follow the norm that has been laid out. Rahul Ishwar, social activist, also with me on this broadcast. Rahul Ishwar, your first reaction, how do you look at it? The state government says this is about equality, and the norm is set for everyone irrespective of their religion.
Remember, dress code is our personal choice, but that is in our personal places. In a public place, we are all bound to follow that institution's dress code. For example, in a court, in a police station, or in many places where there is uniform, I cannot take a special liberty to say that I want an exemption, because dress code. Supreme Court has already given a verdict on this, saying that the larger interest of the institution cannot be compromised for individual interest. So, it's a very grey area. We all respect our Muslim sisters. We all respect their right to their hijab. At the same point of time, a sensible middle ground should be found, like the Koppa College in Karnataka itself, who found a middle ground. So please remember, my individual right is not greater than the institution's right to have a dress code. Wherever you go, I have been to Holy Vatican. Even in Vatican, there is a particular dress code. I cannot claim exemption to that. So any dress code, when we use in a public institution, we are supposed to adhere to the norms. And whereas if I go to a park, place, wherever you have the right to wear whatever you want.
Absolutely. Stay on with me. Activist John Dayal also with me on this broadcast. BJP's S. Prakash also with us here. But John Dayal, I'd like to get you in first. It is about uniformity. Personal choice, yes, but public order is also something that the Karnataka government cited in the past as well. And yet we saw the kind of politics that played out. But now that the government has not only made it clear that this is a norm, this is a rule for everyone, irrespective of religion, they even walk the talk. Those students that were flaunting saffron shawls, or the Dalit groups that were flaunting blue shawls in classrooms, they were also barred.
First of all, I think I would entirely agree with the minister that sinister political forces are at work behind the scenes. And I identify these political sinister forces as the Sangha Parivar, which is raising the communal temperature in Karnataka step by step by rapid step. The order and the clarification of the minister makes it worse. A Muslim woman wants to wear a hijab, or she protests and does not want to wear a hijab, is her right. Why should somebody else protest? It is not as if she's going in a bikini. It is not as if she's raising a slogan against Mr. Modi. She is wearing a hijab, a head dressing, which many people wear and many people don't wear. So it's her personal choice within Islam and in the public area. As much as it is my right to wear a beard or a cross, and a Sikh's right to wear a turban, and Mr. Modi's right to wear whichever uniform he wants to wear whenever he's going every day.
S. Prakash, your first reaction to what John Dayal is saying, this is a concerted effort. It was started to raise temperatures there in Karnataka, and that is exactly what has happened. You're infringing on personal rights of certain people.
No, unfortunately, Mr. John Dayal does not know the genesis of this controversy at all. He is a habitual BJP hater, and he gives his comment as per that. It was the 6 students who refused to follow the school discipline started all this controversy. What has Sangha Parivar, BJP, has got to do with it? It is those students who were asked to remove the hijab, and the uniform must be respected. It is they who started all this. And the Campus Front of India and the PFI, they ensure that it is spread to other colleges also. In what way the BJP is responsible, or any other Hindu organization is responsible for that? And as a reaction, several students started wearing the saffron shawl. But it is only because of the reaction, not as a demand to ensure that they be allowed inside with the saffron shawl. The problem is schools are not meant for exhibit your religious credentials or symbols. There is a rule, everybody has to follow that. You cannot say it is my fundamental right to have a dress whatever the way in fashion I desire, and the Constitution has provided the opportunity for all that. It is not so. Constitution has not provided blanket permission to for all these activities. There is a very clear rule in the school. Everybody should be equal. Everybody should look alike in the uniform.
Right.
And students are supposed to follow that. If this is not supported by these people, it's very unfortunate.
Right, S. Prakash and Rahul Ishwar, thank you so much for speaking with us here on Times Now. My colleagues continue to be with me, and this is one of the top stories that we are tracking here on Times Now. And Pranesh, like we've been discussing, it's not about personal right because this is an educational institution. There are certain norms that are in place, and the government has made it clear that it's not just about hijab. If you come to school wearing a saffron shawl or a blue shawl, you will also be barred. And it's not just in words, they've done it, they've walked the talk as well.
You know, I want to begin by saying that it's not as if the government has made it mandatory that you can't wear hijab at all. It's not as if that you can't step out of your house wearing a hijab. It's not that. You can wear a hijab, wear what you want, go to the school or college, and then before you enter that college, you will have to follow the rule of the college, which is the dress code, which is mandatory across the country. In fact, it's a practice followed across the world. So why make an exception? Today, the minister, by going on record, has said that we are walking the talk. This is about equality. Even saffron shawls will not be allowed. This is a counter to those who were saying that saffron shawls will be allowed, but hijab is banned. That's not the case. There is uniformity here. And the minister is very clear. He says there will be no discrimination. No hijab will be allowed.
Right.
No one will be allowed with a saffron shawl also.
Absolutely, he's made that very, very clear, Madhav. So all of those who are now still criticizing the government there, especially considering it's a BJP-ruled state, do they have any legal standing? The conversation has always been about infringing on personal rights of these people. You're segregating them. You are pushing them into another corner because you're a BJP-ruled state and you're doing this against Muslims.
Well, what the Congress is saying is that this entire episode is actually of upsetting the status quo by those who in fact wore the saffron shawls. Hijab has been worn in the past also by students, is the claim that Congress has made. As you rightly put it, in fact, they say it is a violation of their constitutional rights, of their religious rights that have been guaranteed under the Constitution. And also their claim is that there are past judgments, previous judgments that would buttress their claim. Now, all of this is very important in the run-up to the High Court hearing that is to take place tomorrow. What will the courts really decide in this matter is going to be very crucial. Will they make any, will there be any interim judgment given is also going to be very, very significant as far as this entire matter is concerned. But the battle lines are very clearly drawn. The issue has been snowballing into district after district for the past week or so since it first sort of blew up in Karnataka, and in particular in Mangaluru. Several other districts where we've been seeing similar such incidents take place. I just spoke a short while earlier to former Prime Minister H.D. Devagowda in the Parliament, and what he had to say is that both the BJP and the Congress were using this issue to further their own political causes.
Right.
Remember, there's an election in Karnataka that is to take place in April and May next year, and ahead of that, this is a strategy of polarization that is deliberately being pursued by both political parties, is what he said. Ultimately,
right, so the
it is about
JDS and the former
education.
Prime Minister of the country coming out and slamming both his rivals, really. Let's listen into that reaction coming in from Devagowda and what he had to say, what really was a trigger for such a controversy to now boil over in Karnataka.
Minister of India, Mr. H.D. Devagowda. Let's talk to him about the issue that is very current in the state of Karnataka, the issue of the hijab ban in schools. Mr. Devagowda, how do you see this issue? The BJP says that we are for uniformity. We have seen the Congress come out and say that this is for polarization. How do you view this?
First of all, the person who has created this problem is the person who belongs to some smaller party, which is only prevailing in coastal belt, if I am correct. That seed was sown by some gentleman. Ultimately, this was taken by both the political parties to get the advantage in the next election. They think that is going to help them, but it is going to destroy the political atmosphere in Karnataka, which both the parties should think over and see that mutual understanding should come together.
The state government in Karnataka has underlined the equality message, but will that lay to rest the debate over this hijab controversy that is brewing there in Karnataka? That, of course, remains to be seen. For the moment, I thank my colleagues for joining us with the updates on this big story that we're tracking here on Times Now. A quick break, back in just 2 minutes.